Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Very nice to be here in the Black Country, all right. Here we go, see nothing. A few mile beyond it, really. Mind the folks around here, they ain't too bad, but I just stopped a bloke down the road. I said, have you seen the circular bus? He says, now they're more tall and oblong round here. I thought, thank you very much. Very witty. I'm all right, though, really, ain't they? Some of them get stuck up, though. They tell me, some of them up the top end here, 6 pickled onions and a piece of cheese. They go telling folks they've had a 7-course meal, is it right? We got 'em round our road. I'm a Tipping bloke, born and reared at Tipping. I'm very fussy, some on 'em. Very, very fussy. I've got a woman forward doors for me. If her has a bag of crisps, she invites the mayor of West Bromwich to open it for her. It's right. Very nice. But now I'm going to introduce you to a man born and reared at Netherton. He's very forgetful, I'll tell you this. One of them foggy mornings last week, he went to dive off the Cud Bridge and he was on the railway bridge. Hard lines, were it? Would you put your hands together in a nice warm welcome, folk singer, storyteller, mate of mine, Brian Clift. Thank you very much indeed, Brian.
About him talking about me being absent-minded, eh? Bit of a character himself, It's right, he's got banned from the baths. It's right, I was going down one morning. It was years ago, of course, when we were much younger, you see. Down to the baths one morning, there's Harry with his towel and his bathers, his nicks, as we call them in the Black Country, going down to the cut for a swim. That's what you're going down there for. That's why you go to the baths with us. He said, I can't go, he said, I'm banned. That's what you mean, banned? What you banned for? He's just piddling in the water. I said, they can't ban you for that. I said, everybody does that. All the kids do it. He said, off the top board, they do. Excuse me while I have a little sip. I've just run it all away from bloody Dudley. I'll get settled down now. It's nice to be back this way, I must admit. Used to come across a lot about 10 years ago. This place was first opened in, I think, down at the Barley Mow down the road. Lovely folks seeing that going over here. I don't know what happened to it. But we always had good times, and it was always a pleasure to come across and look at the grass, Because we got all colours up out except bloody green, you see. So it's nice to be back here again. Well, I moved back to the place of my birth at Netherton. I did live for a long time in a place called Woodside. And you got to see it to believe it. Not the Woodside down the road here, but the Woodside, again, just outside Dudley. And I used to really love that place when I was a kid growing up there. Because the canals was clean, we used to all learn to swim in the cut, And over the pit bunks, they were all growing over lovely fresh grass, you could play over there for hours. And what happened? They started to build more and more factories until the place became that crowded and so dirty I couldn't stand it anymore. So I moved up the road to Netherton. It must be all of 3/4 of a mile, but it's much better for me. So I wrote a song about the changing face of Woodside, and it's really typical of a lot of areas of the Black Country, especially over Bilston way, because they got just the same problems. I would ask you to join in the chorus with me this, even though you've probably never seen such a dirty place as Woodside. I'd ask you to sort of sympathise with me and sing about it. And the chorus is simple enough. It's dirty Woodside, there's no fun in living in dirty Woodside, eh? And it mentions all the old places of Woodside. The Earl of Dudley's that you'll hear mentioned is not a pub, but Round Oak Steelworks, as they call it now. And all the old pubs that have been pulled down. I'll tell of a place I lived most of me life, and it's had its fair share of trouble and strife. Woodside is the place that I'm on about, as you comes down from Dudley just 1 mile out. But it's dirty Woodside, there's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. That's your bit if you missed it. You're all right, there's only 17 verses in it, so I'll catch it up, Well, the old place is changing, no doubt about that, 'cause there's so many works, you can't swing a cat. Well, once there was fields where the kids used to play, and narrowboats too on the cut down the way. But it's dirty Woodside, there's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. Well, the fields have all gone, and the cut is now dead, and the smoke from the earls clogs your nose and your head. And if you lucky when you comes down our way, you might see across this road if it's a clear day, 'cause it's dirty Woodside, dirty Woodside. There's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. We got the brickyard, the earls, and a blacking mill too, and when they all gets going, well, we knows what to do. You grab the washing, the kids, shut the windows, that's it. 'Cause if you don't hurry up, they'll be covered in soot. 'Cause it's dirty Woodside, dirty Woodside. There's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. I know what you're thinking over there from Bilson, that's a nasty-minded folks, isn't it? Just 'cause I can't rhyme me words. Coming up Pedmore Road past the old Robin Hood, then you comes to the place where our local pub stood. There was the pilot, the boat, and the brickmaker's arms. But all we got now is the bush and its charms, 'cause it's dirty Woodside, dirty Woodside. There's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. Just over the railway, then you come to the Crown. But when they widen the road, even that's gotta come down. So we lost our railway station and trees once at all. And if they pull down the bush, we shall have bugger all. 'Cause it's dirty Woodside, dirty Woodside. There's no fun in living in dirty Woodside. Thank you very much, very kind of you. Dudley, that's where I come from. One of the outlying areas of Dudley, Netherton, you know. Because Dudley's got its own villages, you see. Netherton's one of them. It's very famous for making chains and anchors and all that. Made the chains for the Titanic in Netherton. Look what happened to bloody there. It's famous now for homebrewed beer, Mrs. Pardo's. That's in the middle of my little village. But it's a very, very nice little place. And Dudley's not too bad, but they've sort of developed that now. They've got 2-story buildings in Dudley now. It's really coming up. So I come through tonight and one of the biggest buildings in Dudley was burning down. That's right. Turned out the Green Goddesses to try and put it out. They were fighting there like mad to put this fire out. They were having no luck at all. Biggest fire since the war, they said. There was one of these blokes, 80 feet up a turntable ladder, squirting away with his hosepipe. You know. And I have to say that because I know there's a bloke. He ain't having much luck at putting this fire out anyway. Anyway, I come past at the time and his helmet fell off just as I was walking past, straight down to the pavement, 80 feet. Bump! Anyway, one of the locals was coming past, you know, a Jamaican, and he thought, nice sort of chap, he thought, oh, but he needs that helmet up there, I'll take it up to him, you know. So he puts it under his arm and tries to climb this ladder, you see. He ain't having much luck, it's a bit awkward, so in the end, on his head, and off he goes, 80 foot to the top. Of course, this bloke's still there, fighting away, waiting for help. This chap gets to the top, jabs a fireman on the shoulder, looks round, he says, good God, he says, where you come from? He said, I'm from Jamaica. He said, that was bloody quick. He said, I got you from Tipperary. He said, a couple of weeks back, I had great pleasure in doing, for the second time, a play that was written jointly by Jon Raven and Malcolm Totten. John did all the music for it. The songs fitted into a sort of documentary play about the nail-making industry of at the turn of the century and just before, when the nail makers hit particularly hard times, when they were having the amount of money they were paid cut back, and they were already on starvation diet anyway. And one of the songs in there sums up the hard times they were having. Sort of is the story of a nailer coming home to his wife bringing his pay, and she's complaining about all the hardships they got. It's called a Nailmakers Lamentation anyway. Come near me, friends, and the truth I'll tell you, and I'll be careful lest I speak wrong. For 50 years I've laboured vainly, and there lies the burden of me song. For when me payday evening's over, me money I will carry home, but me wife tells me it will buy nothing, and all the food we had is gone. And then she'll say, come and sit beside me, and see the money I have to pay. Oh, husband dear, this life will break me, and in me grave will soon me lay. For there's coals and gleeds for the house and shop fire, there's me hammer and steady to pare and steel, me bore and hardy likewise need tending, and the bellows too have lost their seal. Now the rent's not paid and the bums are coming, and all the goods we had are gone. There's shoes and clothes for our dear children, and sickness money, well, we have none. For what's 12 shilling to pay for so many? It'd make a lawyer's head turn grey to try and meet such ends as we do, and yet our masters will not hear us say. But we will not be discouraged, for 15 shilling it is our due, and 15 shilling we will stand out for, to feed our families and clothe them too. Nailmakers Lamentation. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Newport. It's been a pleasure to come and see you. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Brian. Brian Clift, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, we was going to do this recording at Smerick, but we did a dummy rum and that was throwing at me. Have you ever had coconuts hit you to the head? Terrible. Comes really short. Where he comes from, a bike, it's really rough. The tomcats go about in pairs. And I seen a rot down there one night with a patch over his eye. Very, very rough. Very, very true. Like this bloke, he mentioned Bilston. Well, Bilston as we call it. I live at Cowsley Bar, Bilston. I'm a Tippen bloke, born in Prince's End, Tippen, but I live in Cowsley, and I've lived in Cowsley 30 years. It's 500 yards from where I was born, because I wanted to get away from Tippen for a bit, see. Very true. This bloke in out in Prince's End, he took his cat to the vet, and he goes in, see, Bilston here. And he says, I want the cat doctored. He says, is it at home? He says, no, I got it outside in the van, he says. Oh. There are a few black country folks here now. It's the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce you to a lady who makes the feather in her hat bluff. First lady of black country humour, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me pleasure to introduce to you Dolly Allen. Thank you very much indeed.
Hello, my lovers. Last week, my man went and got another job. Was really worked a 4 hours. They'd 8 o'clock in. I just signed the visitor's book. So when he come back, I says, and he got on? Because he got the first day in. He says, I don't know. He says, I might stick it. He said, when I went for the interview, he says, he asked me if I could use a micrometer. I says, oh. I said, I can be sociable with anybody. He says, so when he thought I could do that, he bought me a blueprint. I've got to make a tool off this blueprint. He said, I turned it all shapes. I says to my mate, I says, I could make one of these. He said, well, if you could make one, he said, take it back to the foreman and tell him. So he said, I took it back to the foreman. And the foreman says, you could make one. I said, no. I said, the young man living can make one. I shall let her buy one. He says, I had one come to me the first day, Monday. He said, did you tell the foreman I was a liar? I says, no, I thought he knowed. says, I had one come there. He says, he pestered me all morning. He said somebody had left him a gold watch, a family heirloom. He says, you ought to see it. He says, they smash it. And I said, oh, there you go and fetch the gold watch. Just have a look at it. Oh, he fetched the gold watch. He says, I looked at it. I said, they all gold. He says, I know it ain't all gold. The fingers ain't gold, nor the face ain't gold, but the iron part round it is. He said, I got the best Ivor bees and all in the Midlands, bar none. He says, every morning at 7 o'clock, I open the door, he says, and out they go, right over into the park. I says, you're telling lies, 'cause they don't open the gates till 9. Well, after I'd heard all that episode, I put my hat and jacket on, and I went out across to Fanny's. And her sat there, ever so mournful, I got all the trouble of the world on her shoulders. And just then, a knock come to the door. I got up to see who it was, and it was a tramp standing by the door. He says, Missus, and you got an old pair of shoes you'll give me? Fanny looked down and says, how much older do you want than them as you got on? I said, why don't you get yourself a job and be help to the community? He says, I am. If it weren't for me, all the gutters round here would be full up of fakins. Just then the rag and bone man was a-coming up the road, shouting any old iron. Fanny said, just the one I went. So I called him. I said, hey, come here. I got a pair of old cast iron bedsteads here. How much will you give me for them? He looked at him. He says, I'll give you a tenner. He says, a tenner for cast iron bedsteads. He said, I'll chop 'em up for firewood first. He says, you'll go and walk in the cut till your hat floats. Just then Fanny's daughter-in-law come, Charmaine. They got the little kid with her. They sat down about half an hour, and Fanny said to the little one, run across the butcher's for me, Mama, and see if he's got oxtail. So the kid run across the butcher's. He come back. Fanny says, he got oxtail? He said, oh no, I couldn't tell. He got a long white jacket on. Charmaine says, you can talk about the butter and the tie and everything else going up. But I called in the pet shop coming down here. 'Cause our dog's got one fly on him. Only one. And I said to her in the shop, I said, how much is the fly powder? It says 24 pence a box. I says, 24 pence to pay for one fly. But wait till he's got one or two more on him. I says, Charmaine, how did your brother get on? Him has stole the double-decker bus. Oh, says he been tried. He says, I said to him, I said, well, got no more sense than steal a double-decker bus. I said, was a single-decker big enough? He said, well, I don't want to steal a double-decker, but my mate wanted to smoke. I said, Charmaine, your sister, Cornet, I said, had a first driving lesson, ain't I? I says, oh, I had it yesterday. I says, her and the instructor was driving up the road and the policeman stopped them. Told her he was driving on the wrong side. I said, how can I drive on the other side? There's near a wheel on. I said, I got about half a mile up the road. And Cornet said to the instructor, there's a lot of folks about up here either. The instructor says there's ever likely to be women in the supermarket. Fanny says, I ain't told you I'm a flitting, have I? I said, no. I says, yes, I'm flitting. I've given me notice in and I've been and ordered 1,000 cockroaches. Of course, it says in the rent book, leave the place as you found it. I said, what are you flitting for? I said, ever since I opened that funeral parlour right opposite my place, I can't sleep at night. Of course, the body snatchers coming. I'm wheeling them in and taking them out. And when I draw my curtains on a morning, I can see the big card in the window. Why walk about in misery when you can be buried in comfort? I said to Joe, Joe, I wish I know the place where I'd gotta die. Joe says, well, that wouldn't do you any good. Fanny says, it would, 'cause I shouldn't go there. Well, I come out of Fanny's, and I went down the market, and I stood by woman picking some tea over. I picked one quarter up and another, and I thought I couldn't see. I said, what you're after? Yes, I'm after a quarter of tea with a good flavour. I said, why don't you try tea bags? Oh, says I could do with tea bags. I could get 'em down the spout. Then a bloke come round, and he stopped all of a sudden, and he shouted, anybody lost a roll of notes? Nobody they spake. So he shouted again, anybody lost a roll of notes? So 2 or 3 women put their hands up. He said, of course, I've just found the elastic bond off 'em. Well, folks, I got to wind up now, so cheerio.
When you've settled had your bits of food and stuff, whatever you want, faggots and pies, we're going to sing Blowing in the Wind in the second half. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you this very, very quickly. Dudley Zoo, they're running a special show in the spring, you know, in January or something. It'll be announced, and because spring comes early in Dudley, see. And we down at the Robin Hood at Quarrybonk the other night, they brought Elephant down to advertise the fly to Dudley Zoo. And this elephant, he'd ate anything. He had 19 lots of faggots and pies. I know you won't believe it. And next morning, his belly was rumbling. Well, keeper took him to the vet, and he says, "My elephant's belly's rumbling." He says, "Oh yes." He says, "Had he had anything different?" He says, "Well, I took him down the Robin Hood last night, and he had 19 lots of faggots and pies." He says, "What should I give him?" He says, "Plenty room." Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to begin the second. Hey, shut up, you. I come here to enjoy yourself. Leave your name and address. I'll come round your house when you're performing a bit later on. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a really nice hour and a half in the first half, you know, and I had 1 or 2 chatting in here, Villa and Wanderers. How many Wolf supporters we got in? Well, I'm going to let you into secret about the Wanderers. The television cameras was down the Wolves the other day, and they filmed them during training. And they're going to show this film on the Clift factor next autumn, and they got to guess what I'm doing. Sometimes people say that familiarity breeds contempt, don't they? But wherever we go, I still laugh at the next bloke who's coming on. And I know at Christmas time, you know, you have a lot of food, you have a lot of drink, and they say, oh, you had tummy trouble. Well, you're going to have tummy trouble for Christmas tonight. Tommy Mundon, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our friends from Bilston, where they go out the bath to have a piddle, don't they, over there? Now, Anna's just been talking about blind folks. Now, unfortunately, most jokes are usually about folks who've got inflictions. It's unfortunate, but this is the way things are. And this reminds me of a chap who walks into a pub and he shouts, I want a pint of beer! And he says, you would think I was deaf, wouldn't you? He says, I've got hearing aid. Like a pinpoint. No wires, no amplifier, no nothing. And the bloke behind the bar says, what sort is it? He says, 6:30. While Andy was talking about the power cuts, ladies and gentlemen, it reminded me of an uncle of mine who went to America. And while he was in America, they were just showing him around the prison camps. And they was just leading this poor chap to the electric chair. And my uncle said to the warden, he said, well, when they put him in that chair, he said, do they feel anything? And the warden says, oh, no. So they sit in the chair, finished. And just as he said that, you heard such a squeal come from this execution place, you know. And my uncle turned to the warden, he said, well, I thought you said that they bloody feel anything. Oh, he said, I forgot to tell you, he said, we've been having a power cut, he's been finishing them all off with the blow lamp. But, now, as you well know, in America, this has always been a popular way of doing away with murderers and one thing and another, the electric chair. Well, this went along very smoothly until these big gas companies in America, they said, now look, every time you mention the electric chair, electricity is advertised, why not use gas? See? So they started throwing me to a gas chamber, just to keep the gas folks happy, see? This went along all right until these big Texas oil tycoons said, how about using oil? We ain't got a lot, but what we got you can use, you know. So they started throwing me to a vat of boiling oil. This chap comes in front of the judge, and the judge says, now, you're very fortunate. He said, because you've got 3 ways in which you can die. He said, we can either electrocute you, we can gas you, or we can throw in a vat of boiling oil. See? Well, the chap pondered, because it was quite a big decision for him to make, as you can imagine, you know. And after a little bit of thought, he said, I think I'll have solid fuel. So they dumped a lump of coal on his bloody head, so he didn't get off any bloody... Now, in France, you know, they used to chop their heads off with a guillotine. And this reminded me of a chap who was there ready to have his head chopped off with a guillotine. And the basket was there ready to catch his head. And the postman comes with a letter, he said, put it in the basket, I'll read it after. I've just been saying, ladies and gentlemen, I was very fortunate, you know, I was very fortunate because I had the opportunity to go to Paris for a weekend, you know. And I remember I fled from Melbourne Airport, and I was very, very nervous on this one particular occasion because I'd never fled before, you see. And I remember I jumped onto the plane, and I was beginning to wish I hadn't bothered because it was one of these old-fashioned planes with outside toilets, you know, the bloody sort, lads, don't you? And I sort of sat on the plane, shaking like a leaf, but there was a lovely stewardess standing by, a red head, no hair, just a red head, funny-looking bloody woman. And just as I sort of passed the time away, I looked out the window of the plane. And I could see the pilot was coming out of the plane, and he was as blind as a bloody bat, this pilot was. He got a white stick and a guide dog. And I looked at the stewardess, I said, well, he's never going to pilot this plane. I said, of course he is. And I said, look, this might be a soft question to ask. I said, but when we get to the end of the runway, I said, not when to pull that stick so that we can take off. And she said, you seem to forget, sir, that blind people have a very good sense of hearing, she said. And no sooner we hit the end of that runway, he hears everybody go, "Bloody hell!" And apart from that, he's got a good sense of smell. See? And, but I'll give the chap his due. He got us into France safe and sound. And while I was on the plane, ladies and gentlemen, I got sort of teamed up with a couple of more lads. And I said, now look, when we get to France, I said, leave it with me to book the rooms in the hotel. I'd sort of give them the impression I've been away, but I'd never been out of Wales on before, but they bloody know, see. So anyway, we get to this hotel in France, and there was a French bloke behind the desk. You know, the Vaseline and the bloody pencil moustache, you know. And I said, excuse me, I said, what's the cheapest sweet? He says, rice pudding. I thought, oh. Witty bugger here, you know. But anyway, I was very fortunate while I was in France, lads, because I got fixed up with a French girl. And she invited me up to her bedroom. Or at least I got to the bedroom door and she said, wait there and I shall buzz when I need you. So I stood there outside the bedroom door and a waiter went by. She says, can I help you? I says, no, it's all right, I'm waiting for a buzz. But anyway, it was worth waiting for because she took me out. Lads, on that particular, I say lads because, girls, I hope you're listening to, because these are the sort of things these French women do. Took me out on this particular night, paid for absolutely everything, brought me back to the hotel via the churchyard, and made love to me on a gravestone. Nearly broke my back. I never realised you could enjoy yourself so much without laughing, you know. And I got back to the hotel and I said to this pal as I'd sort of shacked up with, I said, kid has only made love to me on a gravestone. He said, never has. I said, her bloody ass. I said, it was nearly broke me in half. I said, let's have a look at my back. Anyway, he examined me. He said, well, kid, he says, your back's all right. He said, but your bum died in 1890, according to me. Now, I don't know whether there's anybody done an Enoch and Eli story yet, but this reminds me of old Enoch and Eli. You know, they're sitting watching this Western. See? John Wayne Western. And Eli turns to Enoch, he says, I bet you, he says, when John Wayne walks in that pub, he'll bump his head on that beam. Enoch says, don't talk so bloody, sir. He says, I've told you, he'll walk in that pub, smack on that beam. So anyway, they have a little bet. Sure enough, John Wayne walks in, smack. Hit the beam. Enoch says, well, I'd never have believed it. And I said, well, I've got a little bit of a confession to make, because I'd seen the film before. And Enoch said, well, I know I had. He said, but I don't think you've been bloody soft enough to do it again. You know? Lovely, and then I've no doubt that everybody's been doing their Christmas shopping the same as me. Well, I've been up to Dudley this afternoon. I've been round Woolworths this afternoon. Believe me, I've never seen such a pandemonium. And all of a sudden, everybody was just being slung everywhere. And I thought, now what the bloody hell's going on? And this little chap appeared with his bloody tater bag, dragging this tater bag. And nobody offered to correct him. I thought, right, I'm over there. Because, I mean, I love kids. Make no mistake about it. I mean, I always think this about kids. You sort of spend the first 2 years learning how to walk and talk, and the rest of your life to bloody sit down and shut up, don't you? You know, I ever thought you that, but... I mean, let's put the record straight. I like kids, but I like to see them well behaved. You see, so I went over to him. I said, why, you little devil? Santa Claus won't come and see you? He said, well, easy. When you think I got in the bag? And while I was in Dudley, I took the opportunity to have my hair cut. I don't know if you've noticed. You probably have. And I walked into this salon, because they don't call them barber shops in Dudley, they're salons, you know. And when I walked in, lo and behold, there was a dog doing a woman's hair when I went in. And I said to the manager, I said, any chance of the dog doing my hair? He said, oh, I'm sorry, he's only a sitter. I thought, oh, you know. He said, that's your compartment in there. So he led me to this little compartment and sat me down. And I waited for about two minutes, and this lovely young lady came and started manicuring my nails. Then a chap come in a long white cow gown, and one of these old-fashioned razors and started shaving me. See? Well, I don't mind admitting I took to this young lady, chap, so... And I said, excuse me asking, I said, but, are you doing anything tonight? She said, I'm a married woman. I said, that's all right. I said, just tell your husband your mother's bad, you'll be able to get out, see? I said, you tell him, Mrs. That's him shaving you. I thought, oh, thank you. Man, I felt sorry for one poor old devil, you know, he asked for the afro look, he went to sleep in the chair, when he woke up he got a bloody bone through his nose, you know, Anyway, it's been very nice talking to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to leave you all with a bit of Hale's own philosophy. Always remember this, and you'll never go far wrong. Never put off until tomorrow what you can do today, because if you like it, well, you can always do it again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. See you later. You're lovely.
We've got a couple of songs to wind the evening up. One of them is called Staffordshire Vale and describes the life of the glassmakers of Stourbridge. This is their song, really, because they converted it from the original English version of it to a Stourbridge glassmakers anthem, as it were. And so if you can pick the chorus up, it's a very simple chorus, which is repeated. I think it's the last two lines, isn't it? Just sing that as we go along, okay? Come, lads, while we merrily drink in this grove, to the willow, the dread of soft maidens in love, to the gay palm in osier, the pride of the Vale. We'll drain the brown jug of its nappy brown ale. It's nappy brown ale. It's nappy brown ale. We'll drain the brown jug of its nappy brown ale.
So rise up your cups now and drink with me to the humble old trade, though few better there be, to the happy tame meadow, fair Staffordshire's vale. We'll drain the brown jug of its nappy brown ale.
It's nappy brown ale.
It's nappy brown ale.
We'll drain the brown jug of its nappy brown ale. Ever clear be thy waters, ever shady thy bowers, thy banks ever verdant yields garlands of flowers, nor let storm, blight, or mildew e'er harm this fair vale. Thrice blessed to friendship, to mirth and good ale, to mirth and good ale, to mirth and good ale. Thrice blessed to friendship, to mirth and good ale. Yeah. We're going to finish off with a song that you may say, well, that's not a black country song. It's called A Long Way to Tipperary. We're only going to do the chorus of it. In fact, it was written by a bloke called Jack Judge, who was a black country music hall comedian in the early part of this century and the last part of the other one. So a little bit of information you can take home, tell everybody, is that this is, in fact, a black country song written by a black country bloke, okay? It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way